My son got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. He's moving in with her, so I want a divorce and for you to get out. My mother-in-law said. Our reactions to my mother-in-law's dramatic announcement were varied. My son, David, looked away, bewildered. His mistress, Emily, seemed touched. As for me, I was taken aback by her dramatic words. Mary, this is... Ignoring David, who seemed like he wanted to say something, I went to get something. Here's the divorce papers. I'm counting on you to take care of my husband's debts. Then I said with a smile, I handed the filled-out divorce form. Of course, I had already filled out my part. I also showed my mother-in-law a promissory note. What? You should pay for that. My mother-in-law commanded. But I just smiled and shook my head. Impossible. It's my husband's debt, after all. Then I told her the truth. Hearing my story, my mother-in-law and David turned pale. At that moment, the doorbell rang. The people who entered next were about to send them into a downward spiral. My name is Mary Smith. And I'm a 32-year-old office worker. The company I work for is run by my father. Meanwhile, my mother is a homemaker. She has a hobby of making clothes and often made various outfits like dresses for me when I was little. The clothes she made were totally my style, and I was always thrilled every time she made me something new. Mary, that dress is cute. Isn't it? It's Mom's latest creation. She also finished the outfit Jennifer asked for the other day, so she said to come and pick it up. Awesome! I have a childhood friend, Jennifer Williams, and we are best friends. She has always had a strong sense of justice and helped me out a lot. Jennifer, who dreamed of becoming a lawyer, has now achieved that dream and is in a position to help many people. She's a friend I'm proud of. Mary, there's someone I want to introduce you to. Pleased to meet you. I'm Mike, dating Jennifer. Jennifer has a husband, Mike. Mike is a detective, and he seems to be thriving with his exceptional observational skills. A lawyer and a detective, what a dependable couple. Jennifer has given birth to adorable twins and has built a warm family. By the way, I'm also married. Hey, you're in the same college, right? Yes, that's right. I met my husband, David, back in college. He was famously handsome and quite popular. Amidst all this, I was busy studying to join my father's company and had no interest in him, which seemed to intrigue David. That's how he approached me, and we started dating. I'd like to join your father's company too, Mary. After we began dating, I talked to David about my father's company. He took an interest and decided to join as well. Though we were assigned to different departments, he quickly climbed the ranks and is now a department head. I've heard of his good reputation too, and it motivates me not to be left behind in my own endeavors. We don't have children, but we live a peaceful life, constantly striving and supporting each other. I'm really sorry. It's okay now. One day, a certain truth came to light, and David and I had a huge argument. Honestly, I was considering divorce, and even Jennifer and her family suggested it might be for the best. But Mary, you're the only one for me. I truly love you from the bottom of my heart. That's why I don't want to separate. However, David pleaded with me so earnestly that I chose to give our relationship another chance. Since then, he's been like a changed man, treating me with so much care. He even started taking on household chores that he used to leave to me. So, I decided to forgive David. Thank you, Mary. From now on, I'll devote myself only to you. Make sure you do. There won't be a next time. Our relationship became stronger and more supportive than before the fight, and I believe we've become a better couple. If only it had ended there. But my mother-in-law had to stir things up more. Just a minute, Mary. I heard you blamed David. Without knowing the details of our fight, she started yelling at me one-sidedly. She took advantage of my shock and silence to continue, David is too good for someone like you. If you have complaints about my son, just get a divorce. You're not fit to be a wife. Enough is enough. Mom, stop it. Mary and I have already settled this. Please, just stay out of it. My mother-in-law kept blaming me until my father-in-law and David intervened. Had they not stepped in, she might have even gotten physical. That's how intense she was. Sorry, Mary. She's always been prone to going overboard. According to David, his mother has always been impulsive and quick to act on her assumptions. When David was a kid, she frequently stormed into his school. And each time, his father had to apologize for her behavior. I'm really sorry. I'll make sure to talk to her. I'm truly sorry, Mary. Honestly, I was angry about my mother-in-law's behavior. But since my father-in-law and David apologized so sincerely, I decided to let it go this time. She dotes on David excessively and always pushes for divorce at the slightest issue. I think that's why my brother left. David once said. He has a brother, but I've never met him. Apparently, he and their mother never got along and had a falling out. And David's brother left their family home as soon as he graduated from high school and hasn't returned since. That might be why she's so overly attached to David. Before you get cheeky with David, what about kids? When will I finally get to hold a grandchild? I had been nagged about children until recently. It's something I'm concerned about too. I've been checked at the hospital and there's nothing wrong with me. We should probably get David checked out too. Even though your dad's been keeping your mom in check, I'm getting pretty tired of this. So, with David looking reluctant, I took him to the hospital for a checkup. We're still waiting for the results, but we've promised to stick together no matter what. Besides, recently my father-in-law has been keeping my mother-in-law more under control, which has made things quieter. I'm really grateful to my father-in-law. Without my father-in-law, our marriage might have fallen apart. What's this? One day, I found a letter in our mailbox. It had no sender, just a message telling me to break up with David. Feeling creeped out, I showed it to David right away. Could it be a prank? Maybe. But doesn't it give you the creeps? Definitely. It's in bad taste. Maybe you should talk to Jennifer about it? Following David's suggestion, I contacted Jennifer. After I explained the situation, she immediately agreed to make time for me, so we quickly arranged to meet. Sorry to keep you waiting, Jennifer. No problem. I'll just introduce you first. When I arrived at the cafe where we were meeting, Jennifer, Mike, and another man were already there. First, she introduced the man to me. Pleased to meet you. I work with Mike as a detective. The man's name was Liam Brown, and he seemed to be Mike's colleague and friend. After the introductions, I quickly showed them the letter. What's this? No sender? That means it was directly put in your mailbox. That's malicious. Jennifer and Mike frowned upon seeing the letter, while Liam seemed to be deep in thought. Is something wrong? Well, this handwriting looks familiar. Could it be someone you know? At Mike's question, Liam responded, it might be. We decided to leave the investigation of the letter to the two detectives. After getting some advice from Jennifer, we decided to wrap up for the day. When I got home. Welcome back. David? What are you doing here? I was surprised to see David at home. I hadn't expected him to be there. Did you find out anything? No, we couldn't figure out much from just that letter. Maybe you should go to your parents' house for safety. Whoever did this could escalate things. I observed David as he spoke. He seemed to be worried about me, but his eyes were darting around nervously, which made me feel uneasy. I'll think about it. But why are you home, David? Because I was worried about you. But it's a weekday. It's a weekday, and we should still be at work. I had discussed with my father and taken a day off. So it's odd for David to be here. Well, I was so worried I couldn't focus on work. But you said it might just be a prank, right? David avoided my gaze. His behavior reminds me of the time we had a big fight before. He acted the same way when I pressed him for answers. I'll decide about going to my parents' house after observing the situation a bit more. While ensuring my mother-in-law wouldn't find out, I informed my father-in-law about everything. The letters kept coming, escalating with messages like break up with him quickly, just leave, you're a nuisance, you don't deserve David, I'll force you out if necessary. I took photos of each letter and reported them to Jennifer. Dad, I need your help with something. I also asked for my parents' help. Moving discreetly without letting David know and juggling work. Because of this, I've been coming home later than usual, and David leaves the office before me. He's not home again. Wonder where he's going. When I got home, David wasn't there. Sighing, I waited for him to return. I'm home. Welcome back. You're late again today. Yeah, well, a lot happened. David came home 2 hours later than me. His evasive eyes made me suspect something unpleasant. I sighed again to hide my irritation. Sometime later, a sad event occurred. My father-in-law passed away. You did well. He had fallen ill a while ago, and despite treatment, he passed away. I was grateful for how well he had treated me, visiting him almost daily, and I cried a lot the night he passed. But it seemed I was the only one affected that way. You handle the arrangements, Mary. Mary can handle it. I wonder how much inheritance Dad left. David and my mother-in-law left me to handle everything, smiling as they talked about the inheritance. Even after the funeral, they left me with sorting his belongings and went out. What's this? While going through his diary, I found something. I immediately collected it and took it to Jennifer. My father-in-law cared about me until the end. I decided to respond properly to those feelings. I began to work behind the scenes. A little while later, when things had finally settled down. I'm coming in. My mother-in-law arrived at our house with another woman. You are? It's been a while. I recognized the woman. She was Emily, David's ex-girlfriend. Are you David's current girlfriend? Yes, David is my boyfriend. David's taste has changed, hasn't it? To date someone so plain. She was the woman who tried to assert dominance over me when David and I started dating in college. Hey, Emily. You and I have nothing to do with each other anymore, so back off. At that time, David and I had broken up, and he was rejecting Emily. Since then, there has been no contact from her. Therefore, meeting her like this is the first time since college. Why are you two here? David also seemed unaware they would be coming. David was surprised to see them. I let them in and decided to hear them out. Actually, I'm dating David now. What? What are you talking about? That's when Emily revealed her affair with David. Apparently, she worked for a company that had dealings with our company. And about a year ago, David reconnected with her through business dealings. From there, the two of them entered into a physical relationship. I'm pregnant with David's child. No! Mary, this isn't what it seems. Emily's declaration left David pale and scrambling for an explanation. Contrary to him, I was completely calm. So, what do you want? I asked in a cold voice, which made Emily flinch. Suddenly, my mother-in-law said, My son got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. He's moving in with her, so I want a divorce and for you to get out. Our reactions to my mother-in-law's dramatic announcement were varied. Her son, David, looked away, bewildered. His mistress, Emily, seemed touched. As for me, I was taken aback by her dramatic words. Mary, this is... Ignoring David, who seemed like he wanted to say something, I went to get something. And then... Here's the divorce papers. I'm counting on you to take care of my husband's debts. Then I said with a smile, I handed the filled-out divorce form. Of course, I had already filled out my part. I also showed my mother-in-law a promissory note. What? You should pay for that. My mother-in-law commanded. But I just smiled and shook my head. Impossible. It's my husband's debt, after all. Then I told her the truth. The debt was incurred when David cheated before. In fact, this was the second time David had cheated. Previously, he got involved with a married woman and was asked to pay compensation by her husband. David had a habit of splurging on his mistresses, and due to his lavish spending, we had no savings. That's why he had to take on debt.
But Mary, you're the only one for me. I truly love you from the bottom of my heart. That's why I don't want to separate.
Pleaded by him, we decided to rebuild our relationship. Until the debt is paid off, I've been covering our living expenses.
And, you might have forgotten, but this property was originally my father's, and I bought it with my savings. So if anyone should leave, it's David, not me.
After saying this, I took out a photo. It was a picture of David and Emily walking arm in arm.
What, you knew?
Yes, I knew. This photo was taken by Mike and his team. Apart from investigating the letters, I had also asked them to look into David's infidelity.
Also, this was left by my father-in-law.
I then presented copies of correspondence between my mother-in-law and Emily. The document revealed that Emily was having an affair with David, and my mother-in-law was supporting it.
How did you get this?
It was tucked in my father-in-law's diary.
He knew about David's affair and that my mother-in-law was helping, so he left this as evidence.
My words turned my mother-in-law pale.
I will divorce. But I won't give up this house, and I'll demand substantial compensation.
Looks like more debt for you. Both my mother-in-law and David went pale on hearing this. Then the doorbell rang. The people who entered next would turn their world upside down.
I've been waiting for you, Jennifer.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Jennifer and her team entered. I had contacted Jennifer the moment my in-laws showed up.
Liam?
Emily turned pale upon seeing Liam.
It's been a while.
Finally found you. Liam smiled at Emily, who was his ex-wife. Actually, Emily and Liam were once married. But they divorced after Emily cheated. She had been avoiding paying compensation since then. That's why she was so pale now.
Liam? Can't believe it, you're my brother?
Long time no see. I didn't know this, but Liam was David's brother, the one who had a bad relationship with my mother-in-law. Liam gave David and my mother-in-law a cold look.
You always liked hurting people.
Let's go, he said, and pushed me gently on the back. I left the house with Liam and Jennifer.
Wait! You have 1 week to pack up and leave. Otherwise, I'll sue.
I left with only the essentials.
Oh, and one more thing.
I turned back to David.
How did you get her pregnant when you're infertile? What?
They were stunned by my bombshell as I left with the others for my parents' house.
That was tough. Take it easy now. You can rest here.
My parents warmly welcomed me, already aware of the situation. We started discussing what's next.
And to think David was infertile all along. No wonder we never had children despite being intimate.
Yes, David was infertile. Something I learned from the hospital test results. Before I could tell David about it, the letter incident happened, followed by my father-in-law's funeral, so things were too chaotic to bring it up.
So, the child Emily is carrying isn't David's. And since Liam and Emily have been divorced for over a year, it's not his child either. Sounds like they're a match made in heaven.
It turns out they're both alike, constantly cheating on each other. Suddenly, I checked my phone, which had notifications turned off. There were dozens of missed calls from David and my mother-in-law. And numerous messages begging me to come back and talk.
Are they contacting you? Show me.
Here. I handed my phone to my father with a stern expression. Just then, David called. My father pressed the answer button.
Mary! Explain everything. What's going on?
Thinking I had answered, David started speaking unilaterally, causing everyone here to frown.
What do you mean I'm infertile?
That seemed to be his main concern. Then David continued, pleading for me to let him stay in the house and insisting he had no one else but me. His words, clear without needing a speakerphone, left me in utter disbelief.
You seem to greatly underestimate your daughter,
my father said firmly. David's voice stopped abruptly.
I've heard from my daughter. You've done quite a bit, haven't you? Remember your place in the company. No, please not my job. That's not what we talked about.
Suddenly, Emily's voice cut in. According to Emily's outburst, it seems that she chose David because he had told her he was the next company president.
So I chose him to be the father of my child, but this makes no sense now. Does that mean the child isn't mine?
You're infertile, right?
Then it's probably not.
Who knows who the father is anyway? I could hear David blaming Emily over the phone. And she was arguing back. Their quarrel was evident even through the call.
Do something about this.
Then, I heard my mother-in-law's voice coming through. Then, my mother took the phone from my father's hand.
Hello. Long time no see. Is that voice?
My mother-in-law sounded surprised upon hearing my mother's voice. Recently, my mother had started a sewing class. And my mother-in-law was one of her students.
Please, don't call me teacher anymore. I don't want someone like you as my student anymore. No, no way.
My mother-in-law apparently respected my mother greatly. She screamed, and my mother silently ended the call and handed it back to me.
Well, I guess it's time for us to leave.
Right, leave everything to me, Mary.
We'll make sure you get a good settlement from the divorce,
Jennifer said, leaving with Mike. I thought Liam was leaving too, but he stopped and looked at me.
Mary, please read this later,
he said, handing me a letter. He followed Jennifer. I watched them leave and then read the letter.
Ever since I first saw you.
It was filled with his feelings for me, which made my heart flutter.
Well, not bad at all,
my mother said with a laugh as she peered over my shoulder at the letter, while my father smiled wryly at our reaction. A week later, I returned to the house with Liam.
Mary, you came back?
Stop joking.
I'm just here to get my personal belongings.
David, still in the house, tried to cling to me, but I rebuffed him. It seemed only David and my mother-in-law were still squatting there. I glared at David.
Didn't Jennifer tell you?
Leave this house as soon as possible. Thanks to Jennifer's help, we had successfully divorced. Moreover, they were instructed to move out quickly as the house would be put up for sale in a month.
But can't you reconsider? Don't come near her.
As David tried to approach me, Liam pulled me close and shielded me. David's face contorted at Liam holding my shoulder.
You had an affair? After blaming me so much?
Unfortunately, we're not dating yet. I denied David's accusation and looked at Liam. And then, I looked at Liam.
Well, I plan to answer him. Really? Oh, I'm so happy.
Liam smiled at my words, while David looked devastated. That's when my mother-in-law interrupted.
How awful! Poor David!
You wanted this from the start, didn't you? My mother-in-law fell silent at my words, seemingly remembering how she had persistently urged me to divorce.
It seems Emily is more to your liking. Well.
My mother-in-law looked away, just like her son when things went against her. I wondered how alike they were in that habit.
Oh, and by the way, Jennifer has the will left by my father-in-law. What?
We're opening it tomorrow, so please be at the specified place. That was the end of my tasks for the day. After this exchange, we were set to open my father-in-law's will at Jennifer's office the next day. And what was written in the will?
What? The inheritance goes to my brother and Mary?
The inheritance was left entirely to Liam and me. David's share was considered as a pre-death gift to offset his debts. Initially, my father-in-law had paid off the compensation for David's first affair, and that amount was treated as a debt that David was repaying to him. As for my mother-in-law, she had been having an affair herself, and they had divorced shortly before his death. Therefore, she had no right to claim anything.
The will states that the inheritance is left to Mr. Liam and Ms. Mary, who have suffered a lot because of this and been troubled by David. That's ridiculous. This is wrong. Why the hell do my brother who left and a stranger like Mary get it?
David and my mother-in-law were furious about the will's content. That's when Liam silenced them with a sharp rebuke.
Enough!
Liam exclaimed. And then he unleashed his pent-up feelings on my mother-in-law.
Left the house. Who wouldn't want to run away from a place like that? I was basically always neglected. They wouldn't let me go to the school I wanted and took away all my earnings from part-time jobs.
My mother-in-law averted her eyes at Liam's words.
All because I wouldn't listen to you? That's ridiculous.
Her idea of not listening was forcing household chores on him, even interrupting his studies and homework. She was supposed to be a housewife. I resisted, yet I was still hindered from going out to play.
But David had the freedom to study and play as he pleased. That's probably because David is the child of an affair partner.
Liam exclaimed, causing David to gape in disbelief. He never imagined he was the product of an affair.
That's precisely why I can't forgive you. I can't let Dad's precious inheritance go to you,
Liam declared, and his mother's shoulders slumped in defeat. David stood there, dumbfounded.
Both mother and son are engaged in affairs. And the affair partner is cheating with another man. I've never seen a family so alike,
I remarked, meeting no objections. David and his mother then apparently moved to a shabby apartment. David was obviously fired from his company. He had touted himself as the future CEO, being the son-in-law of the president, taking credit for others' work. David, notorious for his affairs, had been making advances on female employees. After complaints from colleagues in the same department, he was dismissed for engaging in affairs during work hours, including with Emily. I first consulted with Jennifer and Mike on the day David took a leave to meet Emily, so he knew about the letter's true nature before me. The mastermind behind that letter was Emily.
Emily's handwriting is unique, that's how I recognized it.
Emily tried to separate us but ended up digging her own grave. And David, frequenting Emily's place, was the reason for his late homecomings. Consequently, David was fired, couldn't inherit anything, and now lives in poverty due to the debt incurred from paying me alimony.
Despite all this, his mother doesn't work but spends her time with her affair partner.
Despite the situation, his mother continued her affairs instead of working. As a result, David kicked her out. Mike investigated this. Liam researched Emily's situation. She had been staying at her parents' house.
I knew her parents' place, so I explained everything to them.
His frank explanation led Emily's parents to take custody of the child and expel Emily. They promised to raise the child and hold Emily accountable through Liam, who mentioned that her parents were reasonable people. Emily sought David's help, but he rejected her, blaming her for his divorce from Mary.
Mike and I were watching when David's mother also showed up. They had a huge fight.
It seems David's mother, rejected by her affair partner, also sought help from David, leading to a fight between them. The police were called by the apartment residents, and both were taken away. As a result, David became an outcast in the apartment complex. Consequently, he had to move out and relocate to the countryside. I received a letter from David detailing these events and offering apologies.
Well, it's too late now,
I said, tearing the letter. I don't have time to worry about David now.
Now, back to my busy life from today.
Don't push yourself too hard. I'm starting in a new department today. Actually, I was the original candidate for the next president, not David. I'm currently rotating through various departments to understand the company better. So, I don't have a formal position yet. I will take on a specific role after completing these rotations.
I was really happy when the client was pleased with our work,
Liam shared. His work is going well too. Recently, we started cohabiting in a new home. His detective office is nearby, and he usually gets home before me. Unlike David, Liam prepares dinner and greets me with a smile. I'm grateful for him every day.
Liam has worked hard all this time,
Mike told me when I decided to date Liam. He explained how much effort Liam put in after leaving home. Despite being betrayed by Emily, Liam was deeply worn out. Perhaps due to this experience, Liam empathized with my heart, also betrayed by David and his family. Now, it's my turn to be there for him.
We've both had our share of hardships, let's support each other.
As I was thinking about how much Liam and I have been through together and how we should support each other, he said exactly that. When I couldn't help but laugh in response, he looked at me with a curious expression. I was just thinking the same. When I told him that I was thinking the same thing, he also smiled and said, "Is that so?" Later, I heard through the grapevine that Emily was caught by debt collectors and taken away. As for David's mother, she was recently seen sheltering from the rain and wind in a park using cardboard boxes. David stirred up another affair scandal in the countryside and eventually was found and hidden away by the debt collectors. They got what they deserved. I never want to deal with them again, I muttered as I prepared to leave. I had a date planned with Liam. We're living a happy life, the exact opposite of theirs. Maybe I should be thankful for the encounter with Liam. With that thought, I headed to meet Liam. Sometime later, Liam proposed to me. "I want to make you happy. Will you marry me?" "Yes, I'd love to. I'll make you happy too," I responded joyfully, and we got married. Soon after, I discovered I was pregnant. Finally, I could give my parents a grandchild. As I realized this, "Liam, you truly are a wonderful person." My father praised Liam, which brought tears to his eyes. "What's wrong?" "Sorry, I just remembered my dad." My mother and I watched my flustered father with a smile. Then, I gave birth to our adorable son. Liam's active involvement in household chores and childcare was a great relief. Our parents cared for us, enabling us to raise our son without any worries. "I'm really happy right now." "Yeah, me too," Liam agreed, and we smiled together. Let's continue to protect this happiness, for our child and for ourselves. I made a promise in my heart to do just that.